So we're talking toxic leaders today, how leaders go bad. You ever had somebody in your life that you were just like, man, I thought this guy was, or this woman was a super good leader, big mentor in my life, and then it just went south. Is that ever had anything like that happen?
Yeah.
Shocker news.
Boy, do I.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to be discreet on
Yeah,
it. Because I don't need to have shots. I'm not going to just shoot at this person because it wouldn't be right. But yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't physically recommend you to shoot at anyone, but
metaphorically. Yeah.
Yeah, we can leave it anonymous in a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit nuanced, but yeah, let's hear about it. Let's at least put some context to where we're coming from and when we have the topic we're going to discuss today.
I think people don't have to just like totally torpedo their life in some moral way to disappoint you. It's just like this certain kind of selfishness. You see that when you all of a sudden realize, oh, it's about you. I get it now. You know, it's not about anybody you're serving. It's about you. You know, that realization is very disappointing when you put somebody on a pedestal and you want to follow.
Okay.
Well, if we bring this kind of towards the church world, it's not limited to that, but
Definitely not. Yeah.
The life model works. I read an article recently, and I just thought it articulated it really well. We want to make a differentiation between hurt and abuse. They're not the same thing. I've hurt people, you know, just unintentionally because we're just complex beings.
Verbally hurt people.
Yeah, you just say something, it hits wrong. I want to make that right. I want to make it up. Abuse is something far more severe, and I think a lot of people are starting to equate hurt with abuse, and not all hurt is abuse.
Yeah, I heard Dave Ramsey talking about this in his leadership side of his business, and he was talking about the difference between hurt and harm.
Right.
You
that
know,
would be
hurt
the same
is
thing.
like iron sharpens iron. I'm telling you something you need to hear. Like a doctor, you know, it may seem that they're cutting on you, but it's for a good reason, right?
I got you.
Hurt, harm is lasting. Harm is damaging. Harm is a death blow.
Okay.
Your coach at practice is going to sometimes get you to run laps. That hurts, but it is not to harm you.
Yeah. So maybe would another way to say that be like, just because you're sensing pain doesn't mean that it's harming you.
Yes.
I think maybe we even touched on that during the pod where we talked about the ease of offense, and that just because you're sensing some level of pain doesn't mean that you're being harmed.
Right. Abuse would be where someone is so careless, so unconcerned, I dare go so far as sociopathic. They don't have feelings about your feelings.
Okay.
And that you're being preyed upon, meaning they are using you or a body of people for their own benefit. That's abuse.
So in some of the herd and pack talk that we've been discussing, I think we landed on a little bit of a theme that's like it's a differentiator is whether you're a predator and you have that kind of mentality or you are a protector. And that's where some of that boils down to what that leader is thinking. Is that kind of what you're getting at? It
is, and you just triggered a thought that I'd like to throw out there. We don't have to bite on it right away, but let's work on that too. Jesus makes this warning: beware of wolves that wear sheep's clothing. So when we start talking about this predator-protector thing, there are predators who dress up like protectors. And so we want to throw that out, not to get cynical about everybody, but we need to be aware.
And that's in every aspect of life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're not this isn't just limited to spiritual aspects.
Right. Yeah. And just to unpack that thing that Jesus said is like, they're going to come at you and look like they're all about the group, the benefit of everyone else, but the engine that drives them is an appetite for their own benefit. And the wolf is in the hen house, as it said, or he's among the flock.
Yeah.
To be concealed coming off as one of them, but he is there for no other reason than to use them for his benefit or his furtherance or his sustenance.
Some leaders can go bad with an unwitting understanding of themselves even, right? That they're engaging in a place of leadership for the right reasons, but they don't realize what they're trying to do is maybe prop up their status. You were talking about status earlier, and so then it becomes the further along that they get, giving people what they want, the sheep, then inside something breaks down and their motivation starts showing itself.
Well, can we just give a little bit of an example? Like, just give some context to maybe something you've experienced. Just we don't have to. We can delve it. We can just be kind of short with it. But I just want to give some context to what our hearts are feeling and why we're saying what we're saying. If you can, I know I'm catching you off guard because we didn't prep that one, but I just think it's good to just give some heart context to what's going on.
Yeah, I grew up, like my earliest examples of ministry was someone that I think, and I think you've said it, I think it can go two ways. I think the status, and I'm just using church as an example, the status that offers to people can attract predators who are already that. But the nature of Christian values or Jesus values develops a certain kind of narcissism over time if you don't have the right kind of group of people around you, or you don't have healthy voices in your life. And so you can start well and end poorly because in the process of that leadership, you can turn bad as well. So I think there's two things. I think you can come in that way. And I had one growing up that turned bad and got worse.
So I just want to make sure I heard you right. You said that Jesus values can actually lead to narcissism?
Well, it can create a unique kind of camouflage.
Okay.
That's the sheep's clothing. So that thing, wolves in sheep's clothing.
Okay,
you
so that's
can dress
that's
up.
like the cover or the virtue signaling.
Yes.
That is going on. That's
Yeah.
what people are hearing, even maybe experiencing on some level.
Mm-hmm. Let's take the rise of the celebrity pastor. He needs to come off on his social as kind and generous. You can just get a pile, and I'm not saying that everyone's dishonest. It's just that we have gotten to the place to where we want a certain package from a leader, and predators can give us that in order to get the status that many times our communities offer them.
Isn't that also...
But at their core, they're not servants.
Yeah.
They're not protectors.
Isn't that also a little bit of how child predators
Yes.
do that? There's
grooming.
There's
Yes.
certain characteristics that they're looking for in whoever, and then there's some grooming that goes on. So
Maybe they can even identify a little bit of vulnerability.
Yeah, well, I mean, at some point in time, you're on the hunt.
Yeah.
So when a wolf first starts hunting, he probably doesn't kill the first thing he gets because he misses it, but he learns every time.
Yes.
What's going on. So he's refining his hunting tactics.
And that's a hunter inside, even though you come off like a sheep on the outside.
Yeah.
And the technical term psychologically is covert, passive-aggressive narcissist. And the church has a lot of those because we teach and almost scare people about you need to be nice, you need to be kind. Well, you're telling predators how to behave to infiltrate the flock, and they're there.
Yeah.
But their inside has not really been transformed into a kind, generous, serving person. They're only using that to further themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, what about you, bud? I know it's catching you off guard, but I know you got one teed up.
Oh, I've been hurt and betrayed by numbers of people. Sometimes they're peers, and they were wolves in sheep's clothing, and so you serve alongside of them in this sense of passion and want for an end product, and you give yourself to it, and just pour out, and then there comes a juncture where loyalty is demanded. You don't know if you're loyal until there's an opportunity to not be loyal, right?
Yeah.
And then they betray you. And it's like, whoa, now we've spent 6-10 years working with somebody. Mm-hmm. And all along you're realizing, oh my goodness, they weren't about me, and they weren't about what we were trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, they're just about themselves. And there's nothing that hurts worse than that. I mean, that is like a body slam. Yeah. You don't get over that because the attachments, I don't even know how to explain it psychologically, but I know that you don't get over that and like, okay, no big deal. 6 months later, I'll be fine. No, it stays with you. And there's just this disgust that you have then for those kinds of leaders. Yeah. I mean, and they're everywhere in all kinds of industries.
Yeah.
When it shakes your foundation of trust. I would say I'm 51, and my trust was so deeply shaken in that early experience that I, loosely talk about.
Yeah.
Because this person is still going and is highly regarded by a lot of people. But they don't know what I know, right? They didn't experience what I experienced.
Yeah.
And the thing with that is some people could say, well, it's not there. It's like, no, you could be dealing with a very sophisticated individual that knows how to give you just what they think you need so that they can prey upon you in ways that may not be as obvious as stealing your money,
Yeah.
punching you in the face,
Yeah.
but feeling power over you
Yeah.
is the eating, if you use the wolf example.
Yeah.
I want to use you to further me
Yeah.
and raise my status. That is not the kingdom, and nor is it a good business practice, right? People don't want to feel used. And so we've got to talk more about this thing, to say, how do I lead well? And it's not seeing people as a thing to further me.
Yeah.
I grew up in a great house. My parents were such great leaders that I just unequivocally trusted anybody that was in a position of leadership.
Yep.
And then as I came into my teen years, I became very rebellious because what I started finding were all these flaws and these people with these, and my parents were not like that. And so I had seen good leadership in my home, and I resisted people that weren't good leaders, because I saw through some of that, But then when it really gets you is when you think you found somebody,
Yeah.
and you
hurts.
attach yourself to them and you give 110% to partner, and then, wow, okay, they can let you just not exist. It's like you don't exist.
Yeah.
After whatever takes you apart, it's like you don't exist, and they don't care.
Yeah.
It's over.
If we're talking about when good leaders go bad, I think for me, one example is actually myself. Because like Royce, you're coaching us now. And in my years of leading, I've been in various roles, but right now the role that I'm in as owner and CEO, I have globally, if you count all the companies that I have, it's well over 100 people working for me. And one of the things that Royce has discovered is something that I've heard over and over, but I can't ever figure out like really how to like drill down into, well, where is that coming from? And it's the word disappointment. So I'm talking about me being the leader. I have a lot of people over the years that have said, hey man, I'm afraid to disappoint you. And I'm asking Royce now, I mean, we're in this phase of life right now. It's like, I don't know I can't tell you. I can't even list one thing that I'm doing. And that scares me as a leader because I'm a guy that I kind of consider myself to be fairly emotionally intelligent and self-aware. So when that happens, that's fearful for me. So then it's like, okay, I kind of have actually a little bit of fear. So it's kind of like flight from anything where I would be trying to set a bar or set a standard. But then what I'm doing is I'm asking for, I don't know how to do that and have like, without lowering the expectation. We talked about people like a Nick Saban or Bobby Knight, some of these coaches who can be like really, really on the nose, like really demanding. And a lot of those guys have players who will die for them, but to your point, it's like, hey, not everybody can live at that level of intensity. So for me, as I want to be a good leader, but differentiating, okay, how am I making sure that my ego is not getting to the place where I'm just like, Royce, you don't know what you're talking about. We don't have that in our culture. Those people just don't want to do this, this, and this. Because for me, that is definitely not being self-aware, unwilling to be coached.
I've been seeing this meme go around that said, big people are hard on themselves, and little leaders are hard on others. There's some nuance to that where you could flip that and say, well,
Sure.
I would contest that.
Yeah.
I think that the motivation behind being hard on someone has to be something bigger than you, right? They're not just working for you. They're working for Tunco, which has a vision, which was going to leave a legacy that's bigger than you, beyond you. So if you're pointing to something that's bigger than you, then it's easier for you to create a standard, because if it's about you, they're going to see through it. It's not good leadership. It won't work. Something will implode. Mm-hmm. But if you can, like the Nick Sabans of the world, right? If you can raise the level of expectation for everyone because we're trying to achieve something fantastic and worthy, then I think people will tend to take something from you and understand it as love and not like you just propping yourself up or something.
Well, so one of the things to remain outward in accountability is that it's a we. It's not transactional, it's relational. So the moment a human feels that they've become an object just for someone else to manipulate or maneuver for someone else's success, but they don't feel as they're equally invested in their personal success, is where a lot of these problems can come from. And it's perception, but remaining outward would be the key there, is that I'm invested in your success. And then what you just said was group identity. We all are rising to this large ideal together of what we are, is our whole is greater than just the sum of our parts, and we're all moving toward that together. And how can I help you accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish? And
great coaches are, they do that with their players. I mean, they're about their families. They're thinking about their personal things. And it's not transactional. I mean, I think they genuinely do care for these kids, or these players.
Bama has a legacy. I mean, Saban has his legacy, but he's also coaching them to that bigger group identity that he doesn't become the pure ceiling of. And I think that's a key piece too. You have a great coach, but he coaches past him to a bigger ideal that even he himself in his coaching is aspiring to. And that brings us all along. Yeah,
if you listen to some of his TED Talks and a couple other things that's on social media and YouTube, all that, he has he understood that he had the responsibility to get those kids to be the most successful that they could be in life. Because it was actually, I mean, they probably had more players in his era go pro than probably any other team, but it's still like a small percentage of how many players were on the team. So he wanted those kids, the students, to come out, the players to come out of that and be as successful in life as they were when they played at Alabama. And I think he did a really good job of that. My thing that I'm still struggling with is I'm struggling trying to find the middle ground to where you are raising the bar to that maximum level. And it's because there's a lot of players that rise to the occasion, and you're like, that's what I'm talking about. But every player is not going to rise to that occasion, and that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be on the team. So I'm curious if you have found, Royce, if you found anything culturally. First of all, do you believe, or have you discovered that we have a pretty high standard at Tunco?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you run lean, as a crew, and people are expected to work hard. And I think we've also identified a few things in the discerning galvanizing cycle that's helped us a lot.
In the widget.
Yeah, because we galvanize really quickly on things, so people are moving fast, and a lot is expected of them.
What was it? What was the name of that? It's not like necessarily a personality test, but what's it called?
Working Genius.
The Working Genius
by Lencioni. I think Patrick Lencioni. Yeah,
that has been a game changer on understanding what people's strengths are, what their working frustrations are. So when we say widget, that's what we're referring to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonder, invention, discerning, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity.
Yeah.
The workflow itself.
What kind of leader you are, to who you gather the closest to you, has to be the kind of people that you can jive with, right? That already understands it, or intrinsically you didn't even coach it in them. It's something that's burning in them that you can only recognize, right? You're not developing it. You're just recognizing something. And I found that leaders that have a high demand kind of, the people closest to them need to have that same DNA. Otherwise you get really frustrated. Tommy Tenney used to say, or Thomas T.F. Tenney, he used to say, you spend your whole life trying to make a 30, a 60, and a 60, 100, 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold. You spend all your life trying to make a 30, a 60, and a 60, 100. Just let them be what they are, right? Let them make sure they're in a spot where they can succeed and not take them past that. Because when you have those kinds of people close to you and you put a high demand on them, they're going to rise with you. They understand it intrinsically. And if they can't hang with that, you need to be thinking about who's on your bus and who's closest to you. I mean, that's me. I can't build an organization without people who that are close to me, have the same burning passion to achieve.
And well, I love that. I think it's true. And just kind
I
of
mean,
keeping.
is that fair? I don't want to just jettison people, but you know what I mean? It's like,
well, what we have to do is that this sneaks into the church. It sneaks into business. People will not work hard in the healthiest way possible over the long haul if it's just for someone else's success. They feel like an object. Mm-hmm. So the key of a great leader is that they want to be successful, sure, and I want you to succeed. I don't mind putting that out there. I want you to succeed, but I want you to want me to succeed too.
Yeah, right.
And I need to believe that.
Yeah.
And so going back to wolf in sheep's clothing, if the leader is leaning into a wolf-like nature and way of seeing people, the wolf only sees the sheep. The wolf doesn't want the sheep to succeed. The wolf wants the sheep to be eaten or be available to be eaten.
Yeah, right.
So, no, and this is really, that's why some of this Jesus stuff applies really across the board. Can we honestly and authentically, there's a couple things I want to throw out here, achieve something that's so much bigger than all of us, and that maybe the leader is pointing to it too, but isn't so ingratiated to it as their own personal success, because people, they're just going to get burnt out because they're going to get discarded. And that is, not to take too long here, but Jim Collins' classic book, Good to Great, describes leadership in 5.
Professional will.
Yeah, well, that's good. But he says level 4 leaders are charismatic. They can get incredible success, but it's almost never sustained because it actually was a little bit of fear or enamoring to their personality. When they're gone, no sustained success.
The level 5 leader has the professional will.
Yes.
Right? He has the drive.
But he's looking at that
couched
transcendent.
in humility.
Yes. And so I love the example is how the 4 and 5 is how they use the mirror in the window. The level 4 high charismatic leader ends up using people to create the success, but will look in the mirror when everything's going great.
Yeah.
Looks out the window when everything's going wrong. The level 5 leader, which is the most sustained success in companies, is that type of leader leading, looks in the mirror when it's going wrong. It's on me.
Gotcha.
Looks out the window when everything's going right. It's because you guys did it. And that's one of the fundamental differences. But that's a people-oriented, human-first kind of, you're not a thing. You're someone who matters.
I want to compliment Evan now that he's out of the room.
Yeah.
But I saw a little bit of that in him. Did you see that? How he was not going to take credit where it wasn't his. I like that.
That was very high character.
There's some good stuff building there in
very
just the foundation.
High character.
Yeah,
that was good.
When he was talking about the project.
Yeah, he was being
quick.
deferential, real deferential, and it wasn't just a that's what you should say type thing. No, he really meant it.
He wanted them to get honor.
I like that. I think there's some foundation there to build on for sure.
Well, I think something in this whole thing, you'd mentioned disappointment. I think as leaders, we forget this, is that for people who do want to please us, because that is a part of it, am I predictable in my reactions and responses to disappointment? Do they know what to expect? Because most of the time, people whose livelihood and they're disappointing their leader, there's already a certain amount of fear that they missed the mark.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hired well, they're going to have that.
Yeah.
If my reaction...
Just because they're a high performer.
That's right.
They just have that natural, I want to go.
So they're feeling the weight of that already, and now they've got to face it. So I think sometimes the leader feels like, well, I don't want them to slide. Well, that's not what it is at all, but we don't need to add more intensity, but we need to acknowledge it. And I feel like consistency in my responses helps so much because they know what to predict from me when they're going into a situation.
I was just thinking I wonder, Jesus called Peter a devil once, and then he goes into the temple. Where's the turn the other cheek Jesus when he flips the tables and whips, takes a whip on everything. But, there's that passion that was in him. I think that the people that were closest to him could, and I don't know, was this a faux pas? Was this a maneuver? What was this from Jesus, right?
Yeah.
But if it was his true passion coming out for where we're going, and this is not about me, this is raw and wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Then the biggest reaction of his entire life is right there. or we're offline. And he's protecting. Actually, he's protecting the vision. He's protecting the outcomes. It's not predatory.
Yeah.
It's protection. And I think some emotion and some passion bleeds out. I mean, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, he was protecting against the predators to do that. Right. He was using a little bit of violence to do it, but he was still being protector.
Yeah, he was protecting.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I was getting at that I just want to stress is we all are going to have moments where the big emotions in our brain are triggered. And the biggest thing that I can do as a leader to act out my maturity is with the people that are under my care is I need to protect them from my big emotions. That's what I mean by predictability. Yeah. Jesus, when there were moments you can show that you have a big emotion, but he's not, that whipping and all that is not harming anyone. It's actually a prophetic display of protection.
He's giving them a significant emotional event that will not soon be forgotten.
Right, because he wants a display right there because something's got to get set right because corruption's ruling. And sometimes we might have to display a resistance and a protest that gets people's attention. But at the core, they all knew he was a protector. So is my reaction to a disappointing event or someone letting me down, is it harming them or inspiring them?
Yeah.
And so I need to protect them from how it's affected me.
I often have to wait. I have to wait on those kind of conversations.
Yes, I got to sit on
just
it. I've
will
hurt
not
people,
have
man.
balance.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. I think that shows maturity.
You care.
Yeah, that does show more that you care.
Yeah. But what'll happen
than
is
just hot reacting and then being like, "Well, I'm only saying this because I love you."
After
I just took your head clean off your shoulders.
Yeah, and what'll happen is when I didn't protect, and I can see this in my kids, they're healing, and I've saw it, but my kids, because of my big emotions, I didn't do well protecting them from it. They began to anticipate extra pain. So the disappointment, we can't really get to the issue and coach them up because they're protecting themselves from how I'm going to be disappointed and how I may react. So that's an added layer that doesn't help them get better. I need to be able to coach them well.
And now because they brought that pretext to it because they've experienced it, now they're hypersensitive to it.
Yes.
So you may actually not be doing anything
at all
that is harming them at
but
all.
The dog's got his tail between his legs,
but
right?
It's like, man, last time he went to put that shock collar on, it hurt. So he's like, I don't think I'm going to come over there.
Have you seen that video where they try to feed a dog and he won't eat, but it looks like they hit the dog, but they hit their hand or whatever, and it looks like they smack the dog, and then they put that bowl over to the next dog, and he's like, he just starts like you see that other one get what looks like smacked or whatever, and I think sometimes that's why across a whole communal place of influence, that consistency of being fair and protecting people from
it's the right system of operating from inside of us.
Yes.
Saul and David, two different kinds of leaders. Samuel in the Bible is handing over leadership and anointing Saul to be a leader. And he's offended that somehow he's not done everything he could do. Yeah. And God predicts what's going to happen with Saul. He says, Samuel, this is not a rejection of you, Samuel. This is a rejection of me. Something in Saul was sideways and a rejection of his God-centeredness that was going to eventually show fruit. Yeah. And it did. And he said what would happen. He said, you're going to cry out one day because of the king that you want. You want a king. You want this leader. And you're going to cry out one day because you've got this leader. And you're going to say, he's taken our daughters. He's taken our fields. He's taken our this and that. He's taking. And you're going to cry out one day. And they did, because Saul never had a heart that was a protector and a care. He wasn't for the nation. He ended up being for himself. Yeah. Have you guys watched the House of David movie yet?
I have not seen it yet.
I saw the first episode, loved it, and I just hadn't got back to it.
It gets better even in the first episode. It's really good.
Yeah, Saul even becomes really a symbol for the kind of thing we're talking about. That
falls on his own sword eventually too, by the way.
He's picked, and he has the propensity and the ability to be good, but that the insecurity, and that I think's a big thing, is that
insecurity.
Not to go too deep in this, but if you're comparing David and Saul, David seems to always allow the role of authority to belong to a power beyond him. Saul felt the need to try to protect it and keep it for himself. So when you try to make it about you, you slip into a temptation that's going to move you towards predatory behavior. Because I'll say it like this: you're trying, like, if this is the throne, it's mine. It's my throne.
Yeah.
So when you think it's yours, like yours and solely alone, and I don't know, everybody's got to kind of find what that is for them.
Yeah.
But you will protect it in such a way. David was like, it's a gift and an honor that I've been placed in this, and it's owned by a power beyond me. That puts you in a better place.
I think that kind of relates to Buffett.
Yeah.
I think he really understands that like one of his biggest drivers, if you read Snowball and some of his other books, was he always wanted to be a good steward with other people's money.
That's good.
Now, he flies around in a Gulfstream, but he does that because he was rewarded, because he took care of other people's money. He didn't do like some of the other scandals that we know of, where he took their money and played with it.
There you go.
He didn't start playing until it was his. I also think, in that analogy of David and Saul, is that David seemed to have a pretty good understanding of what his limitations were, and not being afraid to allow like his crew that he ran with
very good
to be like super empowered.
Yes.
And Saul wanted all the power for himself, and he would get outside of boundaries that he really wasn't even qualified for as a leader, but he didn't want anybody else to get the attention of that and take that spotlight off of him.
Man, that's 4 and 5. That's level 4, level 5 again. That level 5 leader in Jim Collins' research, they describe their success as some kind of gift.
Like
where
lucky.
4s are, they would say lucky, but 4s are like, I use this technique, I use that technique. Saul is taking some kind of performance credit for why he has the throne, and David's like, I just feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be here.
One guy feels like he deserves to be there. The other guy's like, man, I don't deserve it at all, but I'm gonna do the best of my ability to fulfill it. So this is what I want to flip this just a second. Sure. As a leader, part of the frustration that I have, and maybe this is just some emotional tagging in there somewhere, but when a lot of people who have that disappointment, they have set a bar, they have set an expectation that I have not asked for.
For their leader?
For me. Mm-hmm. So in other words, we have a super high standard. This is the standard we want to operate at. So they come up with, if that's the standard, then he would want me to do this. So they, on their own, set an expectation that I've not asked for. And so then what happens is they may come to me at times and be like, hey, I know this is what you want done. I've had this. And then it's always turned around with, what's my reward? And I'm like,
I didn't set that expectation.
Am I supposed to give you a reward for doing your job? I thought that's what I paid you for. And so that's when things in that relationship can start to get sideways. And I don't even have to come off the top ropes. I just, by saying, hey, I didn't ask you to do that. And now you're asking me to basically reward you numerically for doing what I consider to be your job. And then it's like, well, you're just an asshole. So how does a leader combat unfair expectations? Because the subject we're talking about today is how good leaders go bad. That's a fact. But I think good leaders can also go bad along the way while they're managing people that don't need to be on the bus.
My first reaction, Paul, I'd like to hear what you're going to say too, is increase the clarity of the communication.
That was my first thought.
Put those expectations down up front so that they're clear between both parties. This is actually, it's often a lot of extra work for the leader, but boy, I tell you, later down the road, you have less of that misunderstanding because we put it down.
And that's the driver for our employee agreements that we're talking about. And that's why I'm like, hey, we're not rolling this fully out until it's 100% right. I know we've been working on it for 6 months, but we're not confident that it's 100% right yet. And I don't want to launch till then because it really can be something that clears the air on that.
Certainly.
Different people have different...
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Different people have different expectations, too, of what they're wanting from a company, numerically or whatever, intrinsically, credit, whatever it is. And sometimes as a leader, I don't hear well. I need help. when it comes to level setting and clarity about what is the future for this person, what happens if they achieve this or that, because I don't hear like other people hear. I devalue whatever. They've got something as a high thing in their mind, and they think they've communicated it to me.
Yeah.
Right. But it's really not clear to me.
And
so
do you think that is that a real hearing problem, or is it a selective hearing problem?
I think it's a selective hearing problem, right? I've come up sacrificing, entrepreneurial, grinding it out, being the last one to benefit, so then I have this expectation. Well, that's what you're about, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not their expectation,
Yeah.
right? So now that gives me angst.
Yeah.
That makes me almost mad. I'm like, what are you about?
Yeah. So now you've layered over them and expectation of yourself.
Right. And it's not fair, right?
Correct.
In the building up.
And I'm with you. I'm just saying that. I'm interrupting you because I'm with you in that boat. I have done that more times than I care.
And as an organization is rising out of entrepreneurial state and moving more to a business operation, things have to be defined differently, and it requires a different kind of player.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like you need to be out of the mix. Somebody else needs to help you do that, who can value these things and hear better and give you some suggestions.
Yeah.
Somebody that you can trust to hear well and clarify and make expectations. And you'll find that person will be happy and you'll understand clearly what it is. But it's almost like the entrepreneurial founder kind of guy has to be taken out of that a little bit. Not that you wouldn't approve it, but you know what I mean? It's like you don't hear the same. Your drivers are different.
Well, your lived experience is completely different.
Right.
And from theirs, and there's a high probability that because it is so different, they don't even have the capability to see it like that.
And it's not unfair for them to have a different expectation.
Yeah, correct.
It's not unfair. It's just different.
And I think, Royce, I don't know what all you're seeing within our organization at this point, but when a business is in a startup and everybody's just grinding it out, there's not enough time for all this extra expectations, and because you don't even know if you're going to be in business in 24 months.
You're just surviving, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, you're just grinding. Well, we've been in business now for 55 years. We got a couple commas in what we're doing in revenue, and we've had to bring in totally different people, like what you're talking about, Paul, to be in the organization. And the reason why Royce is with us is because we've missed coaching the organization up to where the size of the organization is at. And so you get some gaps in there, and it's maybe some of it is like you said, hey, I'm this is selective listening. I don't even want to hear this shit, just because of your lived experience. Right. And then I think there's other times that you just don't even hear it because whatever you're doing may be so removed from that. And you have a big organization, people might be 1 or 2 rungs below you, and they create this ideal of you. And then when
you're going to be their savior for all of this.
Yeah, correct. And you may not even have regular contact. You may already be in that position where you're removed from them. But then when you do the thing that just crushes them, it's like, and you don't even know that you did anything.
Yeah, it's catastrophic.
I walked in on somebody crying in their office, and I was like, "Are you okay? What happened?" And
it's you.
And it was me. It was something that I had done, and I had no idea. I mean, it was never even been on my radar.
You've heard that statement. You don't rise to the level of your vision. You fall to the level of your system. And I realize that that's about clarity on some things and strategy and all that kind of stuff. But also, it's true that you have a vision for you would like in your time what could happen in your company, right? But if it's not systemized and it's not offloaded from your brain into some kind of a systemized thing, then you're going to have this one-off stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
And it needs to be removed from you and codified in such a way that they're not putting their trust in you. They're putting their trust in what has been decided, right? I think you're creating some kind of a document like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so what we've, like, for example, in Europe, it's actually European law that you have an agreement with everybody that works for you. You don't have to be unionized or anything. You just have to have an agreement. Well, what I look back on when we started having some of these issues, I'm like, we never have that problem in Europe in that way. And Marcus was like, I'll tell you why you never have that problem. Because we're not going to come and ask that, because we know clearly what the expectation is.
Nailed.
Now we'll ask other things, but we're all of that he calls this kindergarten nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's how it is, because he can't even, when he hears some of the questions that get asked,
Mm-hmm.
he can't even fathom how or why that question would be asked, because the way they handle it there is so different. So we're just trying to adopt some of that in, because I do think that it is the expectation both of the team player and the leader. Those things have to be aligned, and it really doesn't take very much for there to be some misalignment, especially with high performers.
Mm-hmm. And not every high performer is entrepreneurial. So I think that's what hurts for people who start stuff from nothing. They do well with ambiguity. They do well with chaos. They can fling commands, and they're looking for people light and nimble, but that will not sustain the business in the next season
got
or
it
two.
there. Yeah.
But it won't get you to the next spot, because what will happen is you'll bring high performers in who are like, tell me exactly how you want this done, and then show me where I have areas to potentially create something new and fresh. But they actually want the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Often, not saying it's this way totally for Tunco, but in general, entrepreneurs have been kicking tail for so long that they haven't codified it.
They just been grinding. Yeah.
Everyone's working on tribal knowledge because they just been in there from the beginning.
There is culture.
No one put it on the wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're looking like, what the hell is your problem? Why are you not, what's the deal? And it's like, they genuinely don't know it. They don't know it. So, but it helps to get those things written down and how they work and what that expectation is, because others come in won't have the entrepreneurial gift, but they could rock it if they knew exactly what it was.
Yeah, we kind of had this issue early on with my dad and I, because he was the founder of the company, 100% entrepreneurial, dug it out from nothing, right? And then by the time I'm really involved as an early adult, let's say probably somewhere around 23 or 24, I was already seeing that we couldn't continue to stay at the current pace without any kind of system. We were going to, actually, we had something happen like where we shipped material out and we didn't even know that it was on the truck. I mean, we literally shipped probably $50,000 or $60,000 worth of material to somebody, and nobody knew it got loaded on the truck. And the only reason why it got caught was because our customer was like, "Hey, you sent me 2 extra pallets of material." Ooh. If they'd never said anything, we would have never even known where that was at. So we had a couple of little misses like that I'm like, "Hey, this has a major snowball effect if we're not careful." Right. But what I learned as we started working through that, he would get glassed over like super fast talking about building systems. That's me. He's just like, "Oh yeah, where's the pillow? Put me to sleep." So and there were times when we would get sideways because I'm like, "Why don't you have this expectation?" Again, I'm putting expectation on him that he hasn't asked for.
Right.
And then when he's dismissive about it, I'm like, how can you be so dismissive about it? And how can you let that asshole over there who works for you get away with that behavior?
Right. So now you've done this operationally.
Yeah.
You did just what we're talking about. Clarity.
Yeah.
What are the expectations? What are the systems? What goes in what building? All these charts and equipment. So you get it. Now you're on the people level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. To go to the same next level. Now you're finding it with the people.
Right. We're always looking for those gaps too, right? They're always going to be there, but as soon as we can find them and begin to speak to them or empower someone to speak to them, and not it takes a good leader to realize their blind spots, whatever that may be. Let's say Steve, when he glazes over, and I have a glaze over areas in me too.
Yeah, sure.
But once I know that they're there, right? But that's what's needed. Let's empower whatever aspect or whatever person has that gift to begin to meet that gap or fill that gap, so that people of all types can perform highly.
Yeah.
That also keeps us human focused. If let's say I don't, but if I had an entrepreneurial gift and I expect everyone to be like me, I'm dehumanizing them. I will eventually see them as an obstacle. I'm going to lower their joy, and they're going to wonder, I don't know if I can continue to work here.
Right.
Because I didn't meet them in what helped them thrive and help them have joy doing it.
I had an employee ask me very specific questions about just things that just benefited them. And I just found this annoyance that came over me. Like, dude, do your job for a couple minutes and then come back and ask me for how this is going to benefit you. And how he was looking for clarity, but I read it as, you're all about you, dude.
Yeah.
Can you not get out here and bust your butt a little bit and prove to me you're worth it?
Yeah.
Well, at this stage in my, and that's, I'm saying it in hyperbole, you know, and I'm saying all that in my head, but I've realized that I had to, in the hiring and the compensation side in this season of where we are, I have to hand that over to other people.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really do, because
very good.
I just
That's
don't
a
do
key
it well.
factor,
I don't do it well.
Yeah.
And some people, I've had to watch that because I have a real high sensitivity to people who might be selfish or just all about themselves. So I might, like you, I might have read that away. But I'm also finding that some people are talking initially out of fear, and that stuff is actually asking a question. Would you dialogue with me?
Yeah.
Are you invested in me?
Yeah.
Meaning they want to be invested, but they're trying to ask a tough question because they feel they're risking getting involved.
I don't.
Do you see me as a human, and do you care about my hopes and dreams too? And
I'm not even sure that some people like myself, I'm not sure if I'm capable of leading on that level.
yeah,
Understand?
yeah.
Like if I'm
and
removed,
it may not be for you to do either.
right.
Someone
It's
else
like
could do
I
it
almost
well.
have to have people with me who give me that balance and can lead that way.
Certainly.
Because I don't think I have the capacity.
Like you don't have the capacity, like you don't have the bandwidth, or it's not your gifting.
I don't have the empathy. I don't see like that. I just don't get it.
Okay, so let me give you an example of that. This is a real example that happened in the last 30 days. All right. So we got a person on our team who is very driven, and is really good at their job. But that drive can have bleed over into the questions like what you're talking about. And I think when I hear you say that, this scenario popped into my mind immediately. I think what's happening is the questions that are being asked are more in the spirit of help me to understand. And what gets heard is I need more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so but what happens is when it's rhythmic enough and it gets to the level of what somebody's like, hey, I'm just tired of being asked this question or whatever, then you can get to that annoyance level and you react so fast that instead of sitting on it and being like, hey,
And the problem
Give me
is
a
you
second.
missed the point.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So you fired at the wrong enemy.
it's
you know?
not that person's
Friendly
it's
fire.
not that person's fault for asking those questions.
Right.
And then you just basically killed somebody that was
You really shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stress enough how just we all struggle with it. We're going to find ourselves inward at times. And when I'm inward, what we do is every human tells a story about everything. And so if it's someone coming to me talking with some of those questions or saying something, my story can begin to attach to it. And I can't tell you how many times I'm off because I'm just writing a story based on experience.
Yeah.
My experience, my lived experience. I'm writing a story based on my fears. I'm writing a story sometimes based on my traumas. I'm writing a story based on things that maybe I haven't even addressed. That's not always the story that even gets near to what they're doing. So I go back to those 3 S's again. Don't do it. But
Sucker.
Stop.
Listen, sucker.
So when
here,
it comes,
I don't remember what they are, but I just remember, listen, sucker.
Stop.
I know it.
See, serve.
That's right. And as a leader, even
I was listening.
come on.
I was listening.
Brother.
Let me reach over here.
I could have.
Oh, let's touch.
Are we going to hold
let's-
it?
we
Here.
can't even-
Okay, I'll do it. I'll
Let's
do it.
touch tips right here.
No. So I stop for just a minute, take a breath. When I find myself, I just find myself getting ready to write a story. Sometimes I'm going to miss that, but just try to catch it more in the stop. Then see them as a human, not a problem, not an obstacle.
Yeah.
And then like their hopes and dreams and where they could be. It's another way of saying like, I'm going to endeavor to believe the best about this.
Yeah.
My
then-
wife often says, "You're the weird one." She'll hear me tell some of this.
Yeah.
Can we have
She
Julie?
said,
Can we have Julie on
Yeah,
the pod?
we need
You're the
yeah,
weird
she's next.
Julie,
next
please
season.
come on the
Next
pod.
time we're in Dallas,
Help us.
Julie's on the pod.
Help us, Julie.
But you've said that to me about things, like the way you and I see things, Paul, from a creative standpoint, kind of put you and I in a weird category, a weird that's basically just uncomfortable for people.
It serves a purpose, but it also has a dark side.
Well, here's what it is. Entrepreneurial people go first. Well, then they begin to set precedents. Problem is you get a certain amount of success and you end up codifying some of your weakness too. You codify your strength, but you codify the weakness. We want to keep going. We want to catch that, strengthen it. You don't have to be great in areas that frustrate you, but begin to surround people. We work things out, find those gaps so that the entrepreneurial person who went first doesn't keep some of those tendencies or stories anchored in the bedrock of where we go next.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So one key characteristic of a good leader who has gone bad, we would say, is a leader who, when things go bad, looks at everybody else instead of looking in the mirror. Right.
Yes.
So we're saying that's kind of a key tenet.
That's their narrative.
Yeah, that's the key tenet of being an asshole leader. Right?
Yes. You blame when it goes wrong.
Yeah.
You take all the credit when it goes
All
wrong.
right. But all of us, anybody who's ever had a leadership position, has failed in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Right?
Miserably.
All right.
Talking about myself.
All right. So my concern in some of the stories that we hear is that it kind of depends on the offense, like how society measures how bad their failure is as to whether they get a second chance or not. So let's just I want to end it with some grace for leaders who don't do things well, because we just said it's everybody. So what offense, I don't want to list the offenses that are too far gone, right? But like, let's take the Hillsong situation with the guy in New York, right?
Yep.
So
Carl.
I think there was a bunch of that was true, but I think there's a bunch of that's taken out of context as well. I mean, there's no doubt he admitted he did what he did. But at the same time, what does he have to do to be able to come back and be like, hey, I still want to be a leader? Like, the guy said he was sorry, said what he did. Where is that to say, all right, this guy can be a leader again? Whether it's in the church or in business or whatever, where does society say, okay, we're going to have grace for that and we're going to give you trust? And is that just time? Is that the consequence of being a bad leader? Is that, dude, it just takes, I can't tell you when, it just takes time. You're just going to have to put your best foot forward until that day comes.
That's a great question.
I was thinking of Jimmy Swaggart. He just ground it back out.
I have sinned.
But he never took anything. There was never well, I guess maybe in the beginning I have sinned, but
he did his big speech at
pretty
the
much
altar.
it was like deflect. It didn't seem like there was a humility in all of it. It was just grind it back out. I don't know. I don't like that.
I don't either. I guess.
And so I'm just, one more thing to add on to my question is, so then at what level are we saying, well, we're going to judge someone's authenticity? Like, he stood in front of the pulpit, cried, whether he cried crocodile tears or whatever, sinned, said what he did. So how much more does he have to grovel or do? How much more does he have to bring that back up before it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, every biblical character had something like it too.
Right.
100%. There's only one that didn't, that I can think of.
Well, I go back to authentic family, authentic community, real eldership. What access do these fallen leaders have to authentic community, to where people who are invested in grace for them and invested in their restoration, but also are healthy themselves in what a process looks like?
Okay.
Like, let's actually enact a plan. And I think it's worth mentioning, it's something that we had talked offline, but it's worth mentioning here, that Dr. Wilder talks about the word iniquity. Maybe you've heard of iniquity. And he just says that the fundamental understanding of what iniquity is that you've grown crooked. So now that's a caution, because some of this isn't, I just was a little misguided, I was a little, but eldership, people really coming alongside you maybe could heal the bend. But we need to know that. And just standing behind a pulpit saying, I'm sorry, could be like from the narcissistic playbook of all narcissistic playbooks. I'll tell you whatever you want to see. I'll act
So I can be
however.
right back.
And this is get me right back to being a predator. We need authentic, and that leader got off course because they didn't have that. So that's and I don't know exactly how to fix that in every situation, but we need that desperately because real accountability, loving, honoring, bonded accountability is what's going to heal and make someone potentially trustworthy again. So I'm all for the grace, but we need a process.
And there would be some situations in some industries, like a doctor or a lawyer, that you could commit something that gets your license pulled, and it's for life.
Yeah,
and there's no coming back from that. I think that's one aspect, but
it is.
Most of what we're in the theme of, I think, in this conversation is, hey, have we been hurt by leaders? Yes, we have. And what are we determining makes them both a good and bad leader? And I'm just, I'm saying this as a leader and we said we've been hurt by other people, and we've said we have hurt people as well. So I just think it's a super delicate situation where grace has to be applied on both sides, and there has to be an open willingness on both sides as well.
Well, I'll just use myself as an example, not virtue signaling because I got a long way to go, but I'm trying to immerse myself in the most emotionally healthy Jesus follower family that I can find. Just yesterday, I sent a text out to my spiritual director we've had on the show, on the podcast, Papa Joe, and I'm like, hey, I'm overdue for a connection and a check-in with you. I'm seeking him. And he'll seek me too. But I'm saying, hey, I want to check in. The Life Model Works family is someone I want to immerse myself. I want to be around people who are exemplifying the kind of life and consistency that brings goodness into the world because they are proven protectors. There's nothing predatory about them. And they're raising my game. So I want to stay immersed in those kind of communities.
Good leaders and bad leaders are everywhere. And, it's above my pay grade to go fixing everybody, whatever, casting dispersions on this one and that one or whatever, judging. It's just above my pay grade. Like my dad said, I quote my, thank you.
You'll leave that to Royce.
I'm here for you.
That's it. My dad would, I quote my dad a lot, and he said, some stories are just going to take a long time to play out. It's not going to play out in a couple months, 10 months. It's going to be a decade.
Yeah, time will tell.
And just let it play out.
Yeah.
And I think you have to, the only thing you can control is you, right? Owning your mistakes and owning your missteps, course correcting yourself, and doing the best you can in the world you live in, right? I can't fix everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spend all my time trying to fix everybody or casting dispersions upon this one, that one. So I just think, man.
And it sure doesn't hurt to just risk it and say, help.
Yeah.
Help. If you can identify something or you're concerned that maybe there's an area, help.
I think there are people who have failed that you recognize they still need loved and it will help. And then there are those that you're like, well, I don't know. I'm not
right.
I'm not going to get involved because it's a bigger deal than me. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
We can't save anybody.
Right. Yeah.
But
when I was at Moody, one of the papers, one of the essays that I wrote, I titled it "Expectations, Hope's Assassin." And I would just say to people on both sides of this coin that make sure you're managing your expectations well.
Everybody's human.
That's right.
Of yourself and of whoever, if you're on the managerial side or the leadership side, and you feel like you've got somebody who just won't get in line and you're crossways with them, make sure you're managing your expectation well, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. If you feel like your manager is no good scoundrel, just ask yourself, where is that expectation come? Maybe some of it is valid, and maybe some of it has just been crafted through the story, and that expectation can just steal any chance of hope that can be redeemed, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a little bit of a heavy one, but good dialogue. And yeah, go be a misfit and love everybody. Love you, boys.
Lead well.
Lead well. Bye-bye.